Yeah, okay, so REVIT, curtain walls. I have to add this caveat to this instructional course for any of you green folks out there. In the metropolitan tri-state area, especially Manhattan, and any of the outlying boroughs, the curtain wall is the uniform worn by the meter maids. But when I tell you, space is at a premium when you're trying to work. And all my life, I've been trying to get work. And all I do is pay to get there, pay to stay there, and pay to get home. And then pay to stay there. And it's just in the conveyance of getting to and from is where you have to pay. That's the thing about conveying property. Unfortunately, don't forget your person. So in this endeavor, it costs money. Time is money, and the meter maids don't wait. So the curtain wall and the YouTube ingest server is synonymous with the melting pot. You're going to pay. You're going to pay for that. You're going to pay for that. So creating custom curtain panels. A curtain panel does not have to be confined to a simple extrusion or glass or solid material. You can create any kind of panel family to satisfy your design requirements. When creating a new panel, be sure to select the curtain wall panel RFT or metric curtain wall panel RFT family template file. The width and height of the panel are not explicitly specified in the family template file. The width and height of the panel are not explicitly specified in the family. Instead, the outermost reference planes will adapt to the divisions in the curtain wall into which the panel is embedded. They're not constrained, right? By anything other than the wall that they're embedded in. And it's a variable number. If required, you can adjust the panel geometry offset within or beyond the reference plane boundaries of the family. This is useful when creating butt glazed curtain wall assemblies. Butt glazed curtain wall assemblies. Right? Butt glazed curtain wall assemblies. And you know what that is? That sounds like a press conference, right? Sounds like a press conference. An assembly. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Butt glazing. Well, let me tell you something. My ass is on fire from sitting in a cubicle all my life. Ass fuck. Fire-rated glazing systems. Butt glazing. That's very nice. Okay, so that's a good example because we have that in the model. And that's a Kinnear system, or I forgot the manufacturer. Okay, so butt glazed assemblies. Well, let's take a look at one. Oops, how did I get a tropical plant? In any event, you can see this family. If I can select it, if I get it over here. All right, so this curtain wall has a panel in it, right? If I can select it, we go over here. Has a panel. Now that panel is a system panel glazed, right? And these are the different panels within the curtain wall. So be sure, to know the difference, because if we were to take a look at the family itself, well, now I want to model it in place. I want to actually look. I want to get to a compound. Let me see here. Let me get over here. Edge family. Well, as you see, this is the glazed panel with spider RFA family. Within the family is glass. Now, if we look at this, in different views, you'll see from, let's look at it from the right, let's look at it from the left, let's look at it from the interior and the exterior. You see the reference planes. See these two reference planes? Well, it's constrained to the top reference plane. So this number is a variable. This is constrained as well as this reference plane. Okay? It's constrained to the center. The spider offset is constrained. Spider offset 1.5 inches, but it's constrained to the center reference plane, as is the edge of the panel. So I bring that up because of the prior passage, and I'm not going to reiterate it. Nesting curtain walls. Generic models can be nested in the curtain family, right? I should have just left that open because that's exactly what I'm trying to tell you next. Generic models, glass spider connected quad, can be nested in a curtain panel family. Well, that's a family. It's a generic model. It's a model. It's another family, nested within a family. Spider fittings and sunshades. In the example shown here, 2 instances of the spider component are placed on one edge of the panel. Visibility parameters are assigned to the 2 spider fittings that enable either the top or bottom spider to be displayed as needed. Okay? So, particularly visibility graphic overrides, this is one aspect of it. It's not the aspect it's talking about. But you'll have the options of you see how there's 2 on each end? Well, let's see if we touch this nested parameter. Let's see if this one gives us the ability two instances are placed on one edge of the panel. Visibilities are assigned to the 2 spider fittings that enable either the top or bottom spider to be displayed as needed. Well, that's not the case with this family. Ah, there it is. Right, so the upper spider and the lower spider. So if I was to check this and hit apply and hit OK, you'll notice that the upper spider is displayed. So let's go back and do it again and look at the ramifications of toggling the visibility button. Upper spider, hit apply. Not displayed. Lower spider, no. Notice how it's by default the lower spider is displayed. Sunshade. Displayed or not displayed. All right, so as needed, the spider fittings were downloaded from the REVITcity.com website, and the sunshade is a Cornier model 1600 sunshade, planar, downloaded from BIM Object, BIMobject.com. Spandrel and shadowbox, often in glazing applications. Speaking of which, I can go for some donuts. In glazing applications, the spacing of horizontal members will consist of a pattern, including a narrow band or spandrel to mask the floor and ceiling sandwich. Now, you know me, I'm going to go off on a tangent. It contains a narrow band. Well, it sure does. It sure does. Spandrel and shadowbox, often in glazing applications, the spacing of horizontal members will consist of a pattern including a narrow band or spandrel to mask the floor and ceiling sandwich. REVIT software does not currently have the ability to define two spacing values, but you can create the spandrel or shadow box in a single panel family. In the example shown here, the spandrel height is a type property of the custom panel family. Standard mullions are applied to the wall. Okay, now, anyway, so what are we talking about? What the heck am I talking about? Well, if we're talking about glazed windows assemblies, and we're talking about the ability to include a narrow band or spandrel to mask the floor and ceiling sandwich. Okay, so again, we could just type that in verbatim. The floor and ceiling sandwich. I'm getting hungry. I before you accept that there's C. Floor and ceiling sandwich. Well, the floor and ceiling sandwich, if you look, is the space that lies within, North Carolina State. North Carolina State set me off on a wild goose chase. Well, you're looking at it. The wall and ceiling sandwich is the space that occupies that volume, right? It's the space that occupies that volume. Shadow box fencing. So now, if we take a look, the ceiling sandwich, you'll see that in this case, this is a good section. If I can get this one big, yeah, it's just a, you know how it is. These links, sometimes they'll resolve and sometimes they'll bring you right back to where it wants to bring you. Well, the wall and ceiling sandwich and the wall and floor sandwich are mirror images consisting of vertical components, different components. But again, this is a bit pixelated, but this would encapsulate the wall ceiling and the wall floor sandwich. So I'll read it again. Often in glazing applications, the spacing of horizontal members will consist of a pattern, including a narrow band or spandrel, to mask the floor and ceiling sandwich. REVIT software does not currently have the ability to define two spacing values, but you can create the spandrel or shadow box in a single family panel. In the example shown here, the spandrel height is a type property of the custom family, of the custom panel family. Standard mullions are applied to the wall. Well, that's this example right here. If we look at this, look at it from here and look at its properties, glazed panel with spandrel, you'll see that the spandrel height and the spandrel depth will allow you to hide the floor in the sandwich if indeed this glazed panel was within the threshold of the floor and wall sandwich. And it also has that ability in the ceiling and wall sandwich. So that depth and those two dimensions can be created in a single family panel, in a single panel family, I should say. So the spandrel height is a type property of the custom panel family. Standard mullions are applied to the wall. Now, we should look at, really quick while we're in this instruction, we should look at curtain wall panel shadow box. Let's take a look at the images. Word association. That's what's going to get you. That's what's going to get you through this. So a shadow box is a recess, and you can control that. You can control that shadow box, and there's a good example in the other wall section we have in Revit. Now, when you get, I want a good picture. I don't like that one. I don't like that one. I don't like that one. Shadow box spandrel condensation. Let's take a look at this one. And again, this image may take us to the site, or it may take us to it may take us to the website. It's a study on it, and of course, it's embedded in the PDF. So, and they want you to pay for it for the study. Now, if I was you, I would just study. I would just study and just take a look. It's a PDF, and that's its header. Let's take a look at this one. Let's see if this website's going to... aluminum shadow box back pans and sandwich. So as you can see, all this is going to be integrated into the design. So let's take a look. Well, you know, it's just there. If you see some of these curtain wall systems are going to require, architectural metals. So if you like metal, any gearhead's going to dive right into this. So again, I'm not designing a curtain wall system right this second, but don't tell anybody. Louvers. Our last example shows how metal louvers can be embedded in a curtain panel family. The image shown here is a panel developed with a nested generic model. The louver fins are arranged in a parametric array within the generic model. And I could show you how to array, but that's a whole other story. And when you get to that, believe it or not, this instructional series, it's kind of unique in how it's set up. It'll introduce things when they need to be introduced. The louver fins are arranged in a parametric array within the generic model, and then the generic model is placed in the panel. The edges of the louver array are constrained to the reference planes in the panel. This parametric louver curtain panel is downloaded from RevitCity.com. So, again, we can go on, and this is a really, really, really good website. As you can see, they're an industry leader. You can tell this by looking at the projects. And I'm trying to see if I see another project that I was on. I was at Logan Airport, but I didn't work on it. Church Street, yeah, I was over at Church Street for MTA. Fisherman's Wharf, I guess only LaGuardia. John Hopkins, no. Mercy, no. VA, no. University of Maryland, I wasn't on that project. What project was it on here? Any of the other ones? Well, I did a bunch of capital ones for ADCO. And that's the one, it looks like, that's a capital one? Oh, wow. It's a big one. All right, so you can see that, within this particular project, there are a substantial amount of curtain wall systems. Let's just take a look at that one. You can see it consists of multiple layers within the curtain wall system. But for our exercise today, let's just stay within the realms of our project. So we have these louvers in this curtain wall. And if we tab around and we select the curtain panel louver and we look at the family, you'll see that the louvers are an associate array, a slat array, which means that a profile was arrayed and constrained two reference planes. Notice how it's locked to that reference plane. Well, there's the exterior, the top constraint of the Louvers array, the thin array. And then the distance between that is 2. So, therein lies the vertical offset parameters. And you take a look here, the reference level is the level that you're on, level 1, level 2, level 3. Floor level, all the way to the level in between. Offset from level, all that. In a stacked wall, this would be offset from level. If you were going to put a louver into a stacked wall. Now you see the reference plane on the bottom, this reference plane, it's not named, it's not a parameter, it's just a reference plane. But the vertical thin array, the slat array, the slat itself is a model. The slat itself, right? It's nested within the panel. So you can see it's constrained to this reference plane, which is great because it's going to adjust the number of thins based on the height of the panel that the louver replaces or is embedded in the family. It's going that when the family is inserted into the panel, or as part of the panel, as part of the curtain wall, it'll be constrained by the wall that cuts and the levels that that wall is drawn on, which gives it parametric bidirectional associativity. So I'm just going to stop that there because, again, we haven't even gotten into creating families yet. And it's not that difficult, but it can be because in the vertical and horizontal, the square box, sure, it's easy to flex a model. But when you start getting into variables such as angle and direction and spin, as you revolve these surfaces, you'll see it becomes more and more complex. So again, we're going to stay within our realm of expertise and defer. So I'm going to stop that video there because I had just to go I had to move my car before I got a meter maid ticket. Speaking of curtain walls, like I said, again, time, I want to have the luxury of time, but usually it's only before 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I do my best work before 6, before 7.